I'm going to be talking a little bit in code today because if you watch my channel and you watch my live, yes.
Is the plane going down? Are we gonna die? Why are you saying I'm salty?
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Lindsay, the housewife historian, and today we're talking about the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Let me get to my comments so I can see what you guys are saying. We're talking Real Housewives of New Jersey. Yes, we have to, because here's what's happening. The cast is filming, right, for next season, and all of this stuff came out about the cast, the current cast that are returning after the reunion. So after the 3-part reunion aired on Bravo Network from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, there was a lot of things that were exposed about the cast, a name change, this situation regarding John, Rachel, Britney, the son's mother. There have been messages released on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram, the account is all RHONJ facts. So that's the account and the content creator that we're going to be referencing through this video. She has posted all of the messages between her and Britney, which is John F's baby's or son's mother, however you want. We're going to call her from Britney now on. That's the relationship. So we got John, Britney, who have a son, and then John, who's with Rachel now. John went through a name change as well. We found that out after the reunion aired. A little strange, right? So these messages are detailed, because I think at one point she was like, you know what? They threw mud all over my name on national television, and what do I care? Like, what else worse could they do? They've been threatening, allegedly, legal ramifications. She was in a transitional control. So if you guys know, when you go to prison, when, we know that she's dealt with addiction. She makes claims that that John was allegedly for educational purposes only, right beside her doing and partying. Okay, she was 17 allegedly when they got together, and they were together for 7 years. We know that his version is a little bit different. We do know that he changed his last name. He claimed that it was because of juvenile charges, but juvenile charges are not going to be accessible. Good luck. If you ever try to find stuff on a juvenile, you're not going to. You're not going to find it. It's sealed. You're not going to get it. So that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's just also very strange. But regardless, back to these messages. She talks about the fact that she wasn't served any paperwork as it pertained to her son being adopted by Rachel. That was strange, because again, she is in an institution, so usually that makes it a lot easier for the judicial system to serve you, because they know where you're at. They don't have to track you down at an old address or an old phone number. They know where you're at because you're in prison. So they're going to find you relatively easy. Some people like to do legal, things like that while somebody's incarcerated, because if you're served, there's no running away. You have to receive it and sign for it. So John, allegedly not a very great boyfriend, had his own issues. They were both partying. Fast forward, she gets pregnant. They have their son. Things continue. Allegedly, his mother really helped with the son and would have a nanny. And then eventually in time, I think that they broke up. She went off, and it got worse for her because addiction is progressive, and either he went to rehab, got sober, figured it out, whatever the case may be. That's what he did. And he got with Rachel. So he comes out looking squeaky clean, and she's like, whoa. Here's the thing though. You were over here with me, right? That was you, wasn't it? I mean, checking, but I think so. So it seems probably really frustrating to be watching this from prison and watching your baby's father throw dirt on your name on national television, and you have to be silenced about it. So the woman gets to transitional control, which would be like the last 6 months of her sentence. It's a privilege. It's to help reintegrate, get a job, yada, yada, yada. She gets reached out to by a reporter from the Sun. In the meantime, John and everyone films the New Jersey reunion, and John comes at Louis and says, "Why did you find my baby mama in prison?" or whatever, however he said it, accusing Louis of finding her, right? Totally effed up. There are emails from the reporter from the Sun. This is how much Britney she's like, it's a lie. Like, she wants to disprove them because she's like, these things are not true, right? So she emailed the Sun and was like, "Hey, just on GP for general purposes, how did you get a hold of me?" And the Sun was like, "Oh, well, we have a database and we put up your name as like a friend or relative. Your name was associated with John's name. And then we found, if you can go online, if somebody that you know is in prison, and if you know their name, you can look them up." So that part's easy. It was probably getting her name, getting her full government name, right? So for John to accuse Louis and for John's ex to come out with these emails that clearly state that Louis had nothing to do with reaching out to her, it's confusing, right? And then we have to also counter in the fact that she may or may not have gotten, things, different messages, if you will, basically trying to silence her with this content creator. If you guys remember, she had posted, I think, that they were going to do a live, but I think that with her position in the transitional control, here's the thing. I explained this in a video that I'm going to post for you guys, but transitional control is a privilege, and it's, if you are coming from an institution, it's the last, you're not even eligible for it until you have 6 months left on your sentence. So by the time they actually, if they have a place for you and they find it, you're down to like 4 months. So at that point, she transitions to transitional control. She's in a halfway house, but she's still under APA. You're still a warden of the state. You're still finishing out a prison sentence. So for any reason, not that is breaking the stipulations of your transitional control, which is curfews, no drinking, no drug, yada, 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 you can violate and you will go right back to prison. Say, for instance, you smoked THC and they call you for a drug test and you take it. You don't tell them that you smoked THC. 2 days later, you might get woke up, knock, knock, boom, and they're cuffing you up and taking you to prison. They can do it any time of day, any time of night. It's up to them. So you can easily get in trouble and be sent back to finish your time, which would not be great because you would have given all of your stuff away. You would be like starting with nothing. It's just not good. People go back a lot of times. Sometimes people that get to the halfway house and they don't get a job and they get sent back to prison for the last couple of months. So she was in a very fragile position because she's coming out of prison. She's vulnerable. I'm telling you guys, prison, I'm not saying that people coming out of prison are perfect, but I'm saying that they've been beat down and doctrined by the state for whatever amount of time. And they're told when to eat and when to sleep and when to go to the bathroom and sometimes to come home and not have the control of that environment. It can be devastating, especially for people who have been institutionalized and living that way for a really long time. I think she did a couple of years. So think of a couple of years at like a disciplinary school like Paris Hilton went to. Like a couple of years can really change a person. So they're coming out of prison vulnerable. You're not coming out of prison like, I'm a boss bitch and I'm killing it. Like, you're coming out of prison like, I'm starting on the bottom. Like, I'm going to be like climbing my way, but hopefully she doesn't. And I hope that she's able to work a program that keeps her life manageable. But regardless, Louis didn't find this woman. Okay. Louis didn't bring her up on the show. You guys did. You brought her into this. You knew that she would be coming out of prison. You knew that she probably doesn't have the personality to not tell if she's asked about it. She seems like a really strong, outspoken, woman who thinks for herself, and she's looking back on messed up situations in her life. And she's probably been sober for a while, and she's starting some sort of therapy and counseling, and she's starting to look at situations and things a lot more clearer than she did at the time because they were partying, if you know what I'm saying, right? So was it intentional? No. I think that because John and Rachel have no respect for her or for people, I think, I don't want to be mean when I say this, but I think it's like maybe they're like above people that go to prison, and they're above people that are in recovery from addiction, right? They're above them. And so they think other people are too. Why would anyone want to talk to her? Why would anyone want to hear what she had to say? It's crazy, but it's almost, he could have never banked on her coming out, or he would have been smarter about the things that he was saying. Guys, he changed his name, like, their whole name change thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It seems a little sketchy. Please comment if you guys think that the name change seems a little bit sketchy. It's disappointing. It's insulting because Bravo fans are private investigators. We're not licensed. We didn't go to school for it, but we didn't need to, because guess what? I've met some of the best people that can dig and find information in this community of Bravo. So it's and that's a known thing. It's a known thing that people. I love Mia. Hi Yo-Yo. Hi Lisa. Thanks for joining, guys. I love this comment, Mia. She's like, basically, she's their sacral. Basically, yeah. And she probably has been for a very long time, because when you are away and you're not in a great frame of mind and you're not able to come around and be present, and you have all of his family around, they're probably implementing their own narrative, they're talking things how they're seeing it, and maybe they talk in front of the children. Who knows? People saying, some people do not filter conversations in front of their kids. They really don't. Like, I they just don't. And maybe that's the case with their son. And so it kind of feels like a little cringy when they film a scene, and Rachel and the stepson, and he like loves her, loves her a lot, but it's like, you should always encourage a relationship between a child and a parent, unless if you're down, obviously, there's cutting people off, all of that, right? But it doesn't even seem like he's in the frame mind to be open. And I'm sure that he has his own feelings. God, forbid, if you're a child of a parent that's been neglectful or had issues, a drug addiction, mental health, whatever it may be, you're going to have your own feelings about it. And so it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense that they're putting this as their storyline the first season, unless if they thought people were going to be like, yeah, John and Rachel, yeah, woo, adopted their, yes, you're amazing, like, it's kind of what it feels like. I believe what she said, that he is mad she's the one who left him, and he has a hurt ego. People, Yo-Yo, you are so right. I agree with you 100% too. People are vengeful, they are resentful, and like, resentments keep you sick. It's like unforgiveness, right? But I definitely think that they have a very dysfunctional dynamic, right? That's their dynamic. It's dysfunctional ATF. And it doesn't feel like maybe they've ever, I don't know. I just don't think that John is, you have to be careful. And ladies, I know any of you that are like smart know what I'm talking about. But, if you like date a guy and he has a child, you mental note how he speaks about his mother, the mother of his children, because we all know as women or mothers, like, really not a lot of things that she could do that you should be disrespect. She's your child's mother, right? That's how I feel. But I feel like John is probably one of those people that like doesn't speak very highly of her. And I'm only going to say that because when this all transpired and she was in the transitional control, and he had allegedly sent an attorney up there to sort of I don't want to say like scare her, but probably make her feel anxious, worried, what's going to happen, right? An attorney showed up without an unscheduled legal visit, and it wasn't her attorney, it was his attorney, allegedly, at this halfway house. Um, and the name change, Lisa, hold on, someone was asking about this. Um, I thought his name change had to do with the title business, or am I confused again? We thought that too, but there was something that was exposed about it, that either like he had changed it again, or there was, I don't know, there was something sketchy there, Lisa, because that's why he had to come on and do the video, and he mentioned charges, juvenile charges. Lisa, they played it off as not knowing where to find her. They are mad because other people found her easily, because she should have had her served. 100%. Let me tell you, the easiest people to serve are people that are in an institution, because guess what? They're always home. They are always home. So you can show up whenever you want to serve them, because guess what? They're going to be there. That's easy. And I agree with you 100%. I really think that they were so in their heads, like so above her, that they, why would anyone believe her? She's she's a convict, or not a convict. What is it? A felon. That's what they call Teresa, right? A felon. She's a felon. Like, so is 40% of America. I don't. I have statistically. I'm just saying. Like, I feel like they really felt above, and I only get. I think that, and then what reconfirms it is like how their bestest of friends treated my, my conviction with my testimony, and my mom, and mental health and addiction, and like they thought that they were going to end me with that. Like, they thought like, oh, nobody is going to find her credible, nobody is going to find this girl credible. It doesn't matter that it was 12 years ago, it doesn't matter what degrees or school or certification or how nice your house is or how nice your car is. These people really think that they're better than other people, and that nobody's going to listen to you because you don't even have your kid. Oh my god, you don't even have your kid, basically. Also, side note, because whenever this transpired, people pulled records of hers that were very, very, very detailed, and this specific content creator that is consistent with her content to be negative, Teresa and Louis positive, Melissa and Joe. And she posted this girl's entire everything she'd ever done her whole life. And anytime she'd been a traffic to everything. And she did a TikTok on it. And as she was reading any charges, well, this woman doesn't even deserve to have her kid. I wouldn't give this woman a kid either. What's wrong with her? Like, you're not children's services. Like, I'm sorry. You're not. And like, I don't know, you probably don't know enough to even say that, because if that was the case, there'd be a lot of people who didn't have their kid. So I think that they were definitely on that gravy train, and I don't think it's like fair to do that to someone, because she's your guys that, like, it's like kicking her while she's down. Like, how much more down and out can you get than being incarcerated? Trust me, nobody wants to wake up in prison today, right? Nobody. They know they're living low income, okay? Like, life ain't so good. And then you're gonna come out and you don't, what are you coming out with? You don't have money. Like, you don't, what are you gonna do? I mean, there are literally people who they send them away on a bus. They give them $80 and they give them a bus ticket and they drop them off at the bus station, because they don't want homeless people hanging around outside the prison. And I think that they're really kicking her while she's down. And you know what? If John and Rachel would have been like, you know what? His mom's getting out of prison, and we're gonna reach out to her, and maybe we'll have a play date, or maybe we can try to get a therapist, or maybe we can do something. But I think that at this point, they have like probably just told him a lot and fed him a lot, maybe things he wasn't ready to. It could be a multitude of things, but it seems like there's a disconnect. But deep down inside, children always want their mother. Like, just like if you have an abusive parent, right? Children don't love their parent any less just because the parent abuses them. No, they don't. They still love their parent because it's an unconditional love that you're born with. So you're only doing a disservice to your child when you cut a parent off like that, because it's something, I don't want to say super not, but it's something that you're not going to be able to ever, really shut off. And you will see that with people who haven't spoke to a parent in 20 years. Look at Jenna Lyons on RHONY. Didn't have a close, it just is what it is. So I think that maybe when John's mother had the son and John and Britney were out doing what they wanted to do, and then eventually Britney was out of the picture and John got his life together. So of course his mother was probably, look at my son. It was all Britney. She was a bad influence on him. Or some shit like that. Don't think it doesn't happen, because it does all the freaking time, right? Because you don't usually raise a child that has emotional issues and becomes an addict unless if you have a dysfunctional parent, okay? Like, if you look at messed up people, usually they got some messed up parents. According to Dex, he had his family clean up his mess once he met Rachel, but he has much culpability in what they were doing. Isn't it weird that he and his son don't seem very close? I actually agree with you, Yo-Yo. He doesn't. Rachel seems very close with Rachel seems very close with him, and I think that's very sweet. But the grandmother, if you think about it, guys, you have to think about this. A woman who has already raised her children, and their children's children come into the home, and they have the full on responsibility of this child. There's some days you're going to be resentful, right? And days turn into months, and months turn into years. And pretty soon everyone has a resentment, because Britney's addiction has affected everyone who's had to take responsibility for her son, and she needs to make amends for those things. But until then, it's possible that everyone sat around together throughout the years at different times, holidays, birthdays, maybe not every day, maybe not every week, but I'm sure that she wasn't spoken about in a very great light. And that wouldn't be untypical, because that's typically what happens. And we see that a lot with children. They get older and they're like, damn, I didn't understand, but maybe somebody was influential on the child. So regardless, also, he was making statements to page 6, right? People were looking like, wow, that doesn't seem, why is he making statements to page 6? Like, it's a lot of information to put out about a child's parents, because on one hand, look at how adults crumble under the pressure of fame and such, and to go around and be in high school and be in school and be having to talk about film and make statements to the press about your mother in active addiction, or now coming out of prison. Nobody at his age wants to do that. You're not going to tell me any different. The producer went on Entertainment, I think it was E! Or Entertainment, and did an interview with one of the women talking about the son, and how a lot of they used it as a storyline, and maybe it wasn't in great taste. This is what the producer said, because I think at first, if you guys remember, they were getting a lot of backlash about this, and a lot of people saying like it was uncomfortable that he was talking about it on camera, and it's kind of like, they're new, they're on the show, like, why can't we see something else? It's like Britney, like Mia said, it's like Britney and essentially her son, because he's affected, that are like the sacrificial lambs for their success on the franchise. Jamie says, I still don't understand why, if they had a son since the age of 5, why they waited 10 years until on a show to adopt him. Jamie, that's a really great point. And I think a lot of people had that same point. And if you go read these text messages, I want you guys to take a look at them, because she says something really important, that she was never served. So either that means there wasn't an adoption, It's not actually legal, or they just signed the paperwork and they have to file for it. Unless if, she should have been served with paperwork for a name change. Because, for instance, I know because I just went through this with someone who had a small child. When she gave birth, her and her boyfriend were together. She gave the son the boyfriend's last name. Fast forward, he abandons, he's off, whatever, and this little boy's about to start school, and she's like, you know what? I don't want him going to school without my last, like, his dad's not even part of his life. I want him to have my last name. So in order to do that, you have to go down to the courthouse, you have to pay money, you have to show identification, social security card, and then you also have to print it in the newspaper for 30 days and make at least 3 attempts to officially serve the other parent, regardless of their custody status. So I don't know how legally binding their adoption is, or maybe the papers aren't like filed. I don't know, but it does seem sketchy. Why would you wait all this time to adopt him? You think it would be one of the first things that you would do after you were married. Yo-Yo said, I feel the same way. Wouldn't have waited that long. He's almost an adult himself. Exactly. He's almost an adult. Jamie says John Fuda's mother allegedly has money. It's her name. His mother. And she is away and can't defend herself. If his dad talked badly about his mother, that may be the issue. That was my childhood, but no one to be close to. Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. This is a very, like I said, it would be more typical that they would sit around throughout the years and talk poorly about the mother, because as she's on her addiction, she's in and out of jail. She's probably in and out of his life, maybe the first, probably just like John was, until he got his shit together. And I love that you point out that the mother has money, because I think that we forget too. We want to think that the justice system is fair and that it wants the truth, but it doesn't. Money talks, especially in a courtroom, especially with attorneys. You're going to get way further than someone who has a public defender and is sitting in the county jail in an orange jumpsuit and has to be transported to court. Guess what? The person that made bond, that had enough money to post bond, that has paid an attorney, that comes in with the same charges as you, it'll be a completely different outcome, because money in the courtroom is everything. So it is possible that he was doing more than we know, more than what's documented, more than what he had ever been charged with. And it just probably was taken care of because of who his mother was, or she probably gave him money, paid for attorney. I mean, who knows what this woman's been through as well. And she could have been talking shit about them both in front of him. Maybe that's why he doesn't have a great relationship with his dad. I don't know, but I'm sure that she would encourage the relationship with the dad. But again, allegedly there was a nanny. Allegedly the mom had him, but there was a nanny. I don't know. I think that it wouldn't make sense that Rachel would wait this long to adopt. I think that's a little bit of a red flag. And it just feels like they're co-signers for Joe and Melissa. And now Joe and Melissa are going to be co-signers for Rachel and John. That's what I feel like is going to happen. They're going to have an excuse now to be upset with Teresa and Louis. And they're going to try to use this storyline so that they all four can sit around and trash Louis and Teresa and look like they all have a reason to do it, right? All feel vindicated for it, even though it's not the case. So I don't know what's going to be coming of this season, but I hope that they don't think they're going to try to run this story and this narrative that Louis brought her on the show, because if producers let them do that, people are going to be fed up. People will be fed up over that. You got to acknowledge something of that. And you have to acknowledge that you're caught somewhere in this web of lies that you've been spreading. If Britney tells us 4 things, 3 of them are probably true, right? Maybe one's, you don't know. But somewhere, something in here is true about you. And the fact that you guys brought this woman's name up, threw mud on her, she's your child's mother, tried to gaslight the audience when Rachel in her confessional said, I don't want to tell her story. And people were, I was like, I love that. I love that Rachel had a confessional and she was like, I'm not going to tell this woman's story. She's my stepson's mother. I don't, I was like, yes. But it was like, that wasn't the case. So why did you say that in the first place? Right? And the photos were like, oh, Joe and Melissa, you don't have to steal from us. We'll just give you tile. We'll just give it to you. And you guys get us on the show. And we'll co-sign for everything that you say. Go back and watch the after show of Melissa and Rachel from this season. If I'm remembering correctly, Melissa's in sort of a blue velvety dress. The after show that they did together, it's like the more the audience is going to co-sign her for her, the more lavish her lies and reality don't mesh, because she was like reenacting their trip in the island and jumping in the, mud and the muck. And it was just, I'm like, is she high right there? Like, is she, because I'm not being mean, but some people, they sniff or whatever and they're cuckoo, gone. Right? Yeah, I don't know. It just, I'm like, is she out of her mind high right now? Like, did she just go to something in the bathroom with Andy? We are fed up of the lies. Thank you. And have been proven that this is not a smear campaign. It's finding out many of these housewives lie. Exactly. So if we find you out about it, you got to fess up. Right? Thank you for all you're doing. Oh, thank you so much, Sissy. I love that. Make sure that you guys do hit that like button and follow. I am going to be cutting this short though, guys, because I have a lot of content to get to. I'm going to be posting another video. We had Real Housewives of New York last night. We also had Real Housewives of Atlanta last night. I taped my podcast with NYC Gal out. That'll air on Wednesday. Also, David did his podcast with Sarah Fraser. I don't know if you guys know her. I love her. But he tells the whole Margaret story. It's finally out. I think it posted Saturday on YouTube on his podcast Behind the Velvet Rope. So all of the details about Marge approaching him at the charity, Jill Zarin's charity in the Hamptons, everything checks out, right? So any of y'all or the people that was over there hating, okay, be nice. Everyone just be nice, okay? But yes, it happened. It happened in the Hamptons. It happened at Jill Zarin's charity party. He was there. He has lots of pictures. She was there. She's in one of the photos in the background, allegedly. So I don't know. But I want to know what you guys think. So make sure you leave a comment. What do you want to see John and Rachel next season? That's the question. Like, do we want to see them? And if we are willing to say, okay, let's see another season because we like Rachel, not because we like John. We don't want to see them trying to run this narrative on Louis because A, you don't have a reason. Nice try, wrong guy, okay? And it's definitely going to look like you're just following Melissa and Joe blindly wherever they tell you to go, and that you're like worse than a brown, like, just, we don't want to see you going after Louis. You don't have a reason. Your points towards Louis are not valid. There's no validity to what you're saying. So we don't want to see that this season. Can we see that? We don't want to see anything with your son either, right? Unless if you're going to come out and bring your ex and get a therapist, right? And try to repair some of that. I don't want to see any shit talking about that kid's mom at all. I don't. I'm sorry. Now that we know what really has transpired. So just saying. Hi, how are you? I'm sorry. I'm about to wrap up here, guys. I don't care to see the photos anymore, Mia said. I don't really either. I think that I could like Rachel, but I think that it's all really a facade. And I think that he atones to her wants and needs to keep her, almost like Joe Gorga does Melissa. He told us himself. He doesn't want to do all that shit she makes him do, okay? He said, I'm not happy. And also, this is juicy. On Instagram, Frank and Roger JWoww's ex, posted another photo with rough bulldog, Melissa's ex, the one she wanted to drunk dial from Ireland. Girl. I wonder what Joe's exes look like. Anyone wonder what Joe Gorga's exes look like? I bet they're gorgeous. So gorgeous. And then there's Melissa's poor ex, who's like been through hell and back. He did end up getting married and having children. She was in the comments. Did I tell you guys about Bulldog's wife being in the comments of a blogger? The blogger had posted, like, you know, I don't think people want to bring the children in, but we all know the rumors about the children and the last one and the timing of, you know, the season that allegedly Mel went and met him at a sushi place. So people have correlated the timeline with their last son. And so they posted kind of like a innuendo about it. And Bulldog's wife got in the comments and was like, something about him not having another child, right? And so the blogger like replied, and she was like, I think I would know if my husband had another son. And someone was like, yeah, but if your husband doesn't know that he has another son, how are you gonna know? Like, we're not saying that he even knows, right? If hypothetically, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't think that's the case. You know, people are entitled to think whatever, but I'm just saying, if you had a child that you didn't know about, the spouse isn't gonna know either. But I'm sure she was just, she's his wife. I don't know if they're trying to get on the show. I can only assume that they maybe the wife wants to, maybe Bulldog wants to. I don't know, because we're seeing these pictures pop up with Frank Catania, and we never seen this before. We saw Frank, maybe we're not surprised he's friends with Roger. He did Roger's podcast, but a little surprised to see him hanging out with like Roger and Bulldog, within like 2 weeks, I think. But this could be a plan. I don't know. I mean, I cannot think that Joe Gorga is cool with Frank hanging out with Bulldog and posting it. Okay. You know how Joe is. He's not going to be happy about that. Do you guys think that he's going to be happy about that? That's like the same as when Melissa, wanted to text her ex-boyfriend when she was drunk in Ireland. Y'all think that he was happy when he heard that? Hell no. He acted happy in front of the cameras and at Watch What Happens Live, but back, there was probably holes in the wall. There were probably windows broken. I wish that we could go back sometimes and look to see when things transpired and when, like, they would have been aired, contrary to when they were aired, or when he would find out, these rumors, first the Nick rumor and then the, issue in Ireland with the ex and all of this craziness. Joe does not like that. Okay. And I'm sure that he is not rainbows and butterflies behind the scenes when this stuff starts swirling, because we never hear about him cheating. We don't hear about that. We hear that he went to a strip club with Joe B, Margaret's husband, because they're like besties. Well, they were for a while, it felt like, but so they were going to the strip club. But come on, I don't know. It just, I don't want to see them bash this woman. She's already down and out as it is, regardless of whether it's a consequence or her own fault, whatever you want to say. We reap what we sow. That is like a natural law. People call it karma. You can call it whatever you want to. You will reap your harvest, right? So we have different seasons, and sometimes we're reaping our harvest, and that's what she was doing. So hopefully she can come out, get a fresh start. And I would like to see John and Rachel be supportive. And if they like trash this woman, I'm going to be like more mad than I was when they were trashing me. Cause I'm like, I will like advocate to the top for anyone. But when it's myself, I'm like, I think we can all be like that. I'm happy to stick up for other people. Sometimes for myself, I don't have enough energy. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I guess whatever you say. And I think that's where Teresa's at. Like, yeah, whatever you say, like, okay, I'm a felon, whatever you say, people, just keep it pushing. But again, this one's like down and out, and it pertains to her son. So again, it's an emotional circumstance, and I'm sure it's triggering for her too. You know what I mean? Like, it's gotta be triggering. So if she didn't have a son involved, I think it would be completely different. If you want to trash your ex all day long, go for it. But when you have a kid together, where is your maturity for his mother? I don't know. Where's your just human decency? Okay, human decency is not going on a reality show and trashing someone that's in prison and happens to be your son's mother. Come on, that's not. And even Joe Judice had to give Melissa props. Exactly. So it is what it is. I don't think that what was I going to say? Oh, I also wanted to say that allegedly there was a happy birthday post put up, and I'm not going to mention who put it up. It was for Antonia's 18th birthday, and the post had that passive aggressive thing that you will hear on Melissa's podcast if you listen. So I personally pick up on a lot of passive aggressive comments from Joe and Melissa. Like, they're nice and they're smiling when they're like telling you to F off. But she sort of posted an aggressive or passive aggressive post for Antonia's 18th birthday and got ate the F up in the comments and had to turn the comments off. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. You know, on M and J's side, Mel and Joe's side. And people were like not nice about it at all. Had to turn the comments off. So I was like, well, if you guys remember, like a week ago, we had Melissa driving home from the shore and she had like a face mask on. She was driving. There was a bottle of wine that had like a cork stuck in it. Like, it was open, but not, you know what I'm saying? And Antonia in the back seat with a dog. So, and she has her phone out. So now she's driving, she's filming, she's got a face mask on, and she flips the camera to Antonia in the back seat. Like, this is how we drive home from the shore, and she looks so mad. And it was funny, but people were tearing her up because they're like, yo, like, you shouldn't be driving like that. Like, number one, why do you have an open bottle of wine in your car? Like, you couldn't leave it at the shore house? Like, you really need, like, what is it? And then this is tea too. I forgot about this. Damn, I said this last night. I forgot about this. This is good tea. So, Yo-Yo, to answer your question, I'm just going to say J-Lo. J-Lo has a sister that favors J-Lo, or people tell her that she does. So that would be who posted it. And also, people balls to the door talking poorly about them. You don't usually see that because they shut that shit down. They just do. Okay, so over the weekend, Teresa Giudice posted a photo of her pool with a waterfall and her Buddha statue. If you guys all know, you've seen photos of Teresa's new home. The pool area, the spa area is so beautiful, right? It's Sherry Shepherd's old house, but beautiful outside. Just a lot going on outside. Again, remember, guys, we're in New Jersey, so we don't get sunshine like more than I don't think you can swim more than 4 months probably out of the year in New Jersey, maybe 5 if it's a heated pool, give or take. So it's not like LA where you could be in your pool potentially all the time, having parties outside, yada yada. So you don't usually see their backyards done up so much, but it's gorgeous, and everyone has always complimented on Teresa's backyard since she bought the home. So she posts a photo of a waterfall. The next day, her sister-in-law and brother get on Instagram and they do a story, and Melissa's talking and they're sitting outside, and they make a point to say, Joe, what are you drinking over there? And he has a cup of coffee and he's like, I'm drinking coffee. Meanwhile, there's a wine glass sitting on the table next to Melissa that's like had like melted ice cubes and like watered down, probably sangria or something in the glass. And she's like, so it's Antonia's 18th birthday and we are chaperoning. She's having her school friends over for a party. And I felt like she was doing that because they didn't invite the Judice girls to Antonia's birthday party. I'm not saying that's true. I don't like to talk about the kids. In my heart of hearts, the way Melissa said school friends, it felt like to me she was doing it intentionally, because I don't think that Teresa's girls were invited. That's just my opinion. If I'm wrong, let me know, please, in the comments. I don't want to get into the kids, but that's just going to be my statement. I'm going to leave that where it is. She continues on talking, and Joe, she's like in a swivel chair. She kind of slides. He's in the frame, and he says something like, I'm here with my beautiful wife, and I love my wife more than anything, and I don't need waterfalls to make me happy. And she goes, oh, Joe, and cuts the video off. Like, she lets him say enough, right? And then cuts it off. So I think then she followed up with like a photo of her pool. So people are like speculating, well, Joe came right out and said it. Like, he was making fun of Teresa. And it's so shitty because it's like Teresa was really out here living her life, just taking a picture of her pool. Like, how innocent. And then you kind of get like attacked for it. And also, anyone that has been watching the show knows that Melissa's yard doesn't, her pool and stuff never have looked like it looks. I mean, it is like A++ back there. It looks amazing. We've never seen that from Melissa before until Teresa bought a home with a beautiful spa backyard. Coincidence? I think not. I think not. I also think it's a little strange, if you guys don't remember, Anthony the pool boy was a childhood friend of Teresa and Joe's. He was on the episodes when Teresa came home from prison, and he did her pool. He did her pool at the old mansion, and he has his own business, and he's a friend, and he's very lovely. I met him actually in New York, and I spoke with him for a while. And I think it's very strange that they wouldn't have asked him to do their pool, considering their friendship, and that it would be a big job, it would be a big profit, it would be a lot of publicity, and something that you would think a home, business owner, Joe is all about looking out for people, right? Because he gets up at BravoCon and he says, if I was my sister, I would look out for my people. Basically, like, I would feed my people. If I'm winning here, I'm going to bring you on. I'm going to look out for you. I'm going to look out for Kathy. I'm going to look out for Richie, I'm just wondering who you're looking out for. Like, why didn't you look out for your friend? And some people said probably because they didn't want to pay for it. And I said, well, he probably was glad. Maybe he was like, oh, thank God I don't have to try to collect money off of them. Who knows? I mean, I'm sure amongst their friend group, you have a friend that you buy the lunch or you buy the coffees this time, or, you give them $20 because they don't have cash or whatever and they don't pay you back. Those are always a smart person's inkling that this person doesn't have a whole lot of money. So if Anthony is probably a smart guy, he knows they don't always pay people. So he probably was glad that he didn't have to do it. But I still thought, hey, why aren't you hooking up your people? Why is Frank with Bulldog? I don't know, Jamie. Thank you for asking. I asked this earlier. If anyone can let me know, please do. But I can only think, I don't know if this is Melissa and Joe behind the scenes. Only because I just can't believe, unless if Frank and Joe have had a falling out. Now, it's possible that after this season aired, Frank became privy to some things that were alluded as facts to him by his good dear friend Joe Gorga, and they turned out to maybe not be facts. Maybe not. Maybe there were like things told to Frank and things told to Joe B, and they were like different, and they ended up getting together and figuring out maybe some of the things about like the network and stuff maybe were exaggerated, or I don't know. I just get the feeling that Joe pressures them to be his friend and talk poorly about Teresa and Louis. For example, the scene of Joe Gorga and Frank in the construction, and they're talking about Frankie Jr. Again, it feels very led by Joe Gorga. And we know that he produces because allegedly he's the one that told Margaret to push Daniel's husband, Marty, into the pool. And he went outside and aligned himself perfectly so that Marty had to be standing with the pool behind him, so that she just had to give him a little push. He set the whole thing up, and now that you go back and watch it, it's very clear. So they produce. Okay, Melissa and Joe produce, and maybe their time was up. Maybe they know it. This is a Hail Mary. You got to go big or go home. But I'm speculating there is some sort of rift between the two of them. Maybe it was a business deal gone bad. Who knows? And maybe they're not on great terms. And so Frank and Britney are hanging out with Bulldog and Roger, and they seem a little bit more relaxed, right? Britney is Frank's girlfriend. She's young and hip, but she also seems like a very gentle spirit, and she doesn't seem, Dolores is very humble. Look at how humble Dolores is. She's humble when it comes to her charity work, when it comes to domestic violence. She's humble. Frank's humble. Frank's a humble guy. I'm sorry, guys. I know some of you guys get mad. Frank has a lot of humility. And Joe and Melissa are like John and Rachel, and they think that they're better than people. And sometimes when you have had some life experiences, you've been knocked on your ass a couple times, and you understand the importance of having humility, you don't like to hang around superficial people because that they don't align with your morals, or they don't align with you. I don't, if some people call it a vibration. It's like if somebody is vibrating higher then you're going to vibrate on a lower frequency if you are with them, right? So it's like you don't want to be with people that you don't align with. And so on important issues like human decency, like if Frank and Britney have human decency and Joe and Melissa don't, and that becomes evident in different situations when they're together or out and about or at a restaurant or whatever the case may be, that's a turn. Superficial people only hang out with other superficial people. That's why John and Rachel are seem like they're fitting in so good with Melissa and Joe. Just my opinion. I like the photos. He was the only one to stand up for his family. Hi, Shay. But he didn't have a reason to stand up for his family because it was their fault. And that's why I'm like, it's not produced. You have to know that you're lying. This woman was in a state institution. The whole storyline was about the adoption. We saw the son make statements to Page 6 after the reunion aired. Usually they get paid to give stories, right? So if he gave a story or talked to them, usually they get paid. So I don't know. It just seems a little bit crazy. I think that's exactly what happened. Dolores got Frank all the way together. You know what, Mia? I think you're exactly right. Dolores probably did get. I wasn't even thinking about Dolores, but that would make perfect sense because Dolores is Team Teresa. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to break your bubble, but I think Dolores is going to be coming in as Team Teresa. Team Tree Hugger. We're already seeing it. We already saw Polly and Dolores and Teresa and Louis out filming dinner. One of the first group settings. So I think that Dolores, in combination with Frank's not a stupid guy. He was an attorney, guys. He was an attorney, but Frank has a big heart. He's emotional, I think. And so his connection, and he is one of those people that does for his friends. He's probably very loyal, and he wouldn't think that Joe would be trying to play him. You know what I mean? But Joe has to do whatever Melissa says, right? Because he has to keep Melissa happy, and he has to keep money coming in. And so therefore, he has to do what he has to do. And I don't know. I think that you're going to see more sketchy things go down when there's pressure that you might not have a spot on the show anymore. Dolores threw a couple sprinkle cookies at Frank to stop going along with the lying. Yeah, I don't even know, go along. I think there was an innocent perfectly explained situation with Frankie Jr. That's what I think, guys. Literally. I think that Louis looked out for Frankie Jr. He got him amazing connection, helped it, for a while. And I think that it was literally probably just like something very minimal. But to somebody who it's your first job, you're nervous, you're trying to do everything right. Like, I think that it was a miscommunication. One of the couldn't get in touch with him right away type of situations. And maybe which is again was the conversation between Joe and Frank, like in between Frankie trying to get a hold of Louis and Louis getting back to him, because that could be the case. I don't think Frank would outright lie. I think that it should have been brought up on camera. I think that Frank never should have told Joe Gorga, but he probably didn't anticipate that Louis was going to get back with Frankie with an explanation of everything and then, work it out. Because I think that Dolores is just thankful for everything that Louis did do for him for all of those months, right? So I think Frank may be getting again. Don't think that Joe Gorga is not pumping these men up behind the scenes. He needs them all to be on his team and to hate Louis. Okay, so they're gonna do what they always do, and what is that? What did they do to Kathy and Richie? Lie and manipulate them, right? That's what they say now. What they do to Jacqueline and Chris? Lie and manipulate them, according to them. So I'm just saying, that's what they do. Anytime a trick, something fit, they turn them. So I'm just saying, guys, something to think about. I want to make sure that you guys hit that like button. I have to hop off here, but I'm going to be having some more content for you guys. I also did an interview with Andrew, Dr. Andrew. He is CEO of the Ivory Tower Boiler Room podcast. I met him in New York at David's event. We've corresponded for a long time, and we finally got to meet. So I wanted to have him on my podcast, but I just haven't had a chance to get that going yet. So I ended up having him on my show. Then I had issues getting it uploaded because it was such a big file. So it is uploaded. It's posted. I hope that you guys get a chance to listen to it. Like, he's not like a diehard Melissa fan at all. I think, he's from the area, so he likes her. And obviously, I say all the time, guys, like, we can't all have the same queens. Everyone is welcome to their opinion and their perspective as long as they comment respectfully, right? Everyone has a seat here. So you can't help who you like. It's like who you love, right? But anyway, guys, make sure you hit that like button. I'm going to leave you guys with this. P. Guy says, Melissa and Joe, garbage. I think you're right. So left field that Frank brought that up. Agree with you. Frank, I think, it's easily upset. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can get pumped up easy. Joe has known him a long time. He knows what to tell him. And that would have been an easy thing for Joe to do, because it pertained to Frankie Jr. And anytime it pertains to your children, it pulls different emotional strings, right? So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Make sure you hit that like button and have a great day, guys. Happy Monday.